I'm joined now by candidate for the U.S. Senate in Mississippi, Scott Colom. Thanks so much for joining me.
Thank you so much for having me, Brian. I'm really looking forward to it.
So we have watched as these election cycles have gone on, midterm cycles, general election cycles, and these states like Mississippi have seemed increasingly out of reach for Democrats. And so why is your campaign going to be different from previous campaigns that we've seen thus far?
Well, I'll tell you, I don't think, well, I know Mississippi is not nearly as far out of reach as people think. The last governor cycle, 2023, we had a Democrat challenger run against a Republican incumbent, and he lost by 27,000 votes. And what we learned from that election is had he got money earlier in the campaign, he would have been able to reach voters that don't watch TV, and I strongly believe he would have won. And then looking at my history as a district attorney, I ran for district attorney in 2015 against a 27-year incumbent. And I ran on a criminal justice reform platform. I had the courage to say that we needed to prioritize violent crime and be smart on nonviolent crime and look at rehabilitation. I've been elected 2 times since then. 2023 in my district, I got elected by 10 points higher than Vice President Harris did when she ran in 2024. So Mississippi is a competitive state when candidates have a strong message and a ability to get that message to the voters. And my message is very clear. Mississippi has to have a senator that puts our interests above DC politics. And Senator Hyde-Smith has a track record of letting us down.
On that point, can you talk about what we're seeing right now and how that kind of factors into your thinking with this shutdown, with the Republicans' insistence on stripping away healthcare, not just Medicaid thanks to this budget bill that's going to impact 17 million Americans, but now with their refusal to extend these Affordable Care Act subsidies, that's going to hit 24 million Americans. And we've seen from Senator Warnock in Georgia has been consistently posting what it's going to look like when these premiums jump from 2025 to 2026. We're seeing premiums double, triple, quadruple because of the Republicans' unwillingness to extend these ACA subsidies. So can you talk about how their priorities are kind of informing your campaign?
Absolutely. And Senator Hyde-Smith is public enemy number one when it comes to putting our health care at risk. I mean, as you just mentioned, the Affordable Care Act subsidies. In Mississippi, we have so many citizens that are relying on those subsidies to help pay for their health care. And if that money, that federal money goes away, that's going to really, really hurt so many working Mississippians. And why is she, Senator Hyde-Smith, not a leader in talking about how important that is? Why is she not on Capitol Hill every day talking about that? She just voted to give people making over $600,000 a year a 3% permanent tax cut. Brian, we don't have that many people in Mississippi that make $600,000 a year. Very, very few. Those people live in New York, California, Boston, DC. She voted to give those people a tax cut, and she paid for the tax cut by putting 140,000 working Mississippians at risk of losing health care and at least 8 hospitals at risk of closing. And so when Mississippians hear that message, I am confident they're going to elect me to the United States Senate because they know that we have to cancel those cuts and we have to save our hospitals.
How are you thinking about, in asking people to vote for you, asking those people to distance themselves from their identity, which may, for a lot of these people, be voting for Republicans? Maybe their families have voted Republican for decades. And so I think the Republican Party smartly has connected Republicanism with identity. And so it's not just a matter of for a lot of these people being able to say okay, I'm just going to, vote for this person because they're better for me at this particular moment. Oftentimes it runs deeper than that. And so how are you thinking about that in your conversations with voters, for example, given the fact that this is it's not as easy as just saying oh yeah, you just, pick whatever person on the ballot is going to be better, with no thinking about how it kind of reflects on the team that most people are sorted into?
Well, the first thing I would say is there are a lot of Democrats in Mississippi that if we give them a reason to vote, they'll go to the polls and we'll be a lot more than competitive than people realize. I mean, there's a lot of Democrats in Mississippi that have been totally ignored. I mean, totally. I mean, and So when they don't vote, they're responding to the marketplace. The National Party is saying, we're not going to spend any money trying to get your vote.
Uh-huh.
And so there's a lot of apathy in a place like Mississippi. Now, I know that I'm working hard every day to get out my bio because I have a bio and a record of winning tough elections that people did not think I can win. 27-year incumbent. I'm in a district that is very purple. I mean, Trump, I think he either won my district in 24 or he got close to winning. The previous year, I won by 10 points. And the way I'm able to do that is because I understand that you have to have a message that is powerful to voters. My message in 2015 when I first ran was, we have to be smart on crime. And my message now is we have to have a senator that's going to put our interests first. And she has a track record of letting us down. And the thing I want you to understand, Brian, is a lot of voters don't know her record. They don't know. She shows up at, for example, my area of the state. She showed up at the ribbon cutting celebrating the expansion of the highway. She showed up at the bragging about Amtrak that's going from Gulf Coast, Mississippi to New Orleans. 90% of voters do not know that she voted against the money that supported those projects.
Yeah.
And that's why we have to call that out because once you inform voters of her record of letting us down and my commitment to Mississippi, Mississippi is much more competitive than a lot of states. And I want to make one final point if you don't mind.
Sure.
My mom was a judge. She lost her first two elections for Chancery Court judge. And then she got elected to be the first African American judge in my area of the state. She made history. And one of the things that I took from her election was she had a no quit mentality, never quit, never quit. And she passed that value on down to me. And we're going to have a never quit mentality. I'm going to do everything in my power. I'm going to touch every voter. I'm going to raise every dollar I can to make sure Mississippi voters know that we have a chance to make history. We have a chance to show the country that Mississippi matters. And that's very important to me.
Given the fact that the U.S. Senate is so often split down the middle, I mean, right now it's
Right.
53-47, but often we see something along the lines of 50-50. Can you talk about what your victory would mean for the people of Mississippi, given the outsized impact that somebody like you would be able to have? I mean, I think often about Joe Manchin and what he was able to do as a Democratic senator from a deep red state and the benefits that he was able to confer onto the people of his state because he was that swing vote. And so what would your election in Mississippi mean for the people of Mississippi who are when there's a Republican senator, it's just it's a given. It's one more rubber stamp vote and not necessarily seeing any disproportionate benefits for your state, but as a Democratic senator from that state would be a whole different story. So can you talk about that for a moment?
I think that's a very good point because the reality is the worst thing that you can have in politics is a senator like Cindy Hyde-Smith that is totally giving away her voice. I mean, totally giving it away because she's giving away Mississippi's voice. And so I'm going to be a senator like, let's take example, Lisa Murkowski in Alaska and how she voted with the big, beautiful bill. She got a bunch of carve-outs, exceptions where she looked out for Alaska. When I saw that, I couldn't help but ask, why isn't Cindy Hyde-Smith getting those same type of special deals for Mississippi? I mean, we're a state that needs federal support. We're a state that has a lot of people that rely on help for healthcare. We're a state that has a lot of hospitals at risk of closing. We're a state with farmers, Brian. We have farmers that are struggling right now because of the tariff policy, and they can't sell soybeans to China, and equipment prices are up. She used to be the Secretary of Agriculture. She has totally betrayed those farmers, and it's because we don't have an independent senator. And what I'm offering to the citizens of Mississippi, which is a powerful opportunity, is to have a senator that doesn't matter if the president is a Democrat or Republican. I'm always going to look out for Mississippi. It doesn't matter. Under no circumstances am I going to pay for people in New York and Boston and D.C. to get a tax cut if they're making over $600,000 a year by putting our hospitals and our healthcare at risk. Under no circumstances will I do that. And I'm telling you, Brian, Mississippi is the best bet in politics because we have so many voters who never get a Democratic message. And I've got a proven track record of winning those voters. And I have the most powerful thing in politics, the most powerful thing. I have a never quit mentality. I am going to do everything in my power to make sure the Mississippi voters realize they've got a choice this election. They've got a choice.
Scott, while we're looking at the Republican agenda playing itself out, the agenda for which Cindy Hyde-Smith has completely supported, we have watched people who elected these Republicans based on this pretense that they're going to bring prices down. Instead, these trade wars that all of these Republicans have supported have sent the prices of everything surging. The farmers, to your point, were sold a bill of goods, and now we're watching China buy zero soybean crops and that destroying their livelihoods. We're watching as healthcare prices are set to surge. We're watching as rural hospitals are closing. In your conversations with folks, is that resonating? Is that breaking through? I understand. Look, I work in the digital media environment, so I understand that we have a very bifurcated media ecosystem. Republicans don't often hear Democratic messaging, and vice versa. Democrats don't hear right-wing messaging. But is that breaking through? Is the pain of the reality of this agenda, this Republican agenda, actually breaking through to these voters, particularly the voters who supported the Republicans, thinking that they were going to get something else?
Absolutely. And a big part of it is Cindy Hyde-Smith. I know you would know this, Brian, but she's totally MIA in Mississippi. She in 6 years, she's not done one press interview. She hardly ever does any interviews with local newspapers or local television stations, and it's because she knows she can't answer for her record. She can't answer for it, and so now that she's starting to pop out, and they're starting to hear somebody point out where has she been? What is she doing for Mississippi? They're totally buying into it, and they're excited. I'm happy. I'm excited about my fundraising. I had record fundraising the first month, but I need to get more people excited about Mississippi because we're a state that's competitive. We're a good bet. And the final point I want to make about your point, which is, as a younger candidate, I understand the importance of digital media and the importance of going to doors. One of the things that I've seen not work in the past is everybody puts their money on television. And the reality is a lot of young people don't watch TV anymore. They watch apps or they're on their phone. They watch, I got a friend who everything he watches is on his phone. He never watches, he doesn't even have a TV. And he can afford it. So we got to go to their doors and we got to go digital, and we got to be creative about how we reach the voters. We got to give them authenticity. We got to give them creativity. And that's one thing that I've been doing in my campaign. In fact, Brian, I don't know if you know this, but they threatened to investigate me on day one when I announced the Republican Party. I did a TikTok video that was based on a trend about forgiveness, and Republican Party sent out a letter to the FBI to investigate me. Cindy Hyde-Smith is already attacking me. She's got a minute ad out there already attacking me with a bunch of lies. It's because they realize, that's the thing about Republicans, they actually realize Mississippi is competitive. They realize that. And they love that they hope that the Democratic Party doesn't realize that we can win this election. And that's why I'm so excited that people across the country and across Mississippi are realizing that Mississippi has to matter this election cycle. And that's why I'm happy to be on your program to talk about it.
Well, I appreciate that. And let's finish off with this. For those folks who are looking to help your campaign, where can they go?
They can go to my website, which is www.scottcolom.com, SCOTTCOLOM.com. I really appreciate it. Mississippi, I promise you it's a good investment. If you look at the numbers, we're competitive, and I have a track record of winning tough elections, and I can promise you I would never quit.
Awesome. Well, I'm going to put that link to your website right here on the screen and also in the post description if you're watching online. If you're listening to the podcast, it'll be in the show notes of this episode. Scott, thank you so much for taking the time. Best of luck in the campaign trail. And for those who are watching right now, please consider donating early. This is not an expensive media market to buy ads in. This is not New York or DC or LA. And so if you have the opportunity to donate, please help this campaign and let's make another seat competitive. Scott, thank you so much for the time.
Man, thank you so much for having me. God bless.